Okay, here we go. We're going to continue on in painting the cottage sign. This is similar to how I did the harvest sign and where I show you how I paint lettering. I have my black paint on my palette here. For lettering, I actually prefer the Delta Ceram Coat because it just flows from the brush easier than most of the others. You got to add white to the others. Not white, what am I saying? Water. And even then you don't get the flowability that you do from this brand. And I just fill in. Sometimes I'll go along with a liner brush to begin with. And I try to come up to the lines that are drawn on here or traced on here, not over them. That way, if I need to come along with a liner brush, then I'm not making the letter that much wider than it was originally intended. But let me see, let me show you my liner brush. Get one. Here I load it just like this, and I drag it through and I twirl it so that it gets a good point on it. Looks like there's something in that paint. Getting a little thick there. And then I'll go along, like if I need to tidy up an edge, I'll just go along and drag it, and it can tidy up if you have some rough edges. If you want to pre-line it, you can. Just go along the inside edge, not the outside or on it, but the inside edge of your graphite line from when you traced it on there. Long strokes. I start on the point, and then as I go along I lay the bristles down, and then that it spreads the paint more evenly without getting the lines too wide. And I'm trying to stay back so I keep my head out of the camera, which normally I'd be a little bit closer to it. And then I would just come along and fill in with the bigger brush. And then you get crisper lines that way without having to use a stencil. And that's basically how I paint on lettering. Just one other thing I'd like to show you, how to age the edge of the wood a little bit, or to make it have it like a stain. Now, hopefully this will work. Just because I'm videoing it, it will not. I have my palette left over with a little bit of black paint, and I've just gotten a little bit on here, and I'm just going to kind of streak it on where it stains that wood, that bare wood is showing. And some of the white and gray paint, this has some white on it, and gray and crackle medium, and the rag was wet, so I dipped it a little bit in the black, and then I'm kind of just rubbing it along. And I will do that also on the other edge to age it, and you see how it gives it kind of a distressed blackened area where it stains the wood with that black paint. And you can darken it. If you want to lighten it a little bit, you go back with just wet towel and you kind of wipe it off, but you're not going to get all of it off. To get it all off, if you made an error or didn't like it, you would just have to sand it down into bare wood again. But that's how I kind of shadow or distress the edge. That before I did that, I had sanded all along here. Now, and one more thing. To kind of distress the lettering as if it is old and aged, black is kind of hard to come back and sand when it's dry. It can smear, so while it's not completely dry, some of it maybe this is drier, but you can come back. I have again wet my rag, I have it over my finger, and I'm just going to go in here and kind of remove some of the paint. You can see how it's kind of streaking it in there. You want to hit and miss different spots, and it'll just lighten the paint in those areas. And you see how I smeared it right there? So I will come back. You can do this with a Q-tip too if you want to be a little more precise and not have to worry about smearing your paint. And just different strategic areas you can kind of rub some of the paint off, and that'll give it a worn look without having to come in with a sander. And I can see a couple spots where I had smeared some of the black paint, but that's okay. That makes it look a little aged too. I just get off the worst of the smears and blend it in with the white. Also, if you totally destroy a sign or something and you think, oh man, that is just horrible, you can come back along the edges and neaten them up with white paint, and it will blend in, especially as this one's pretty streaky. I've got the gray and the white. This one had been crackled, sanded, and so it's already looking pretty well worn. So mistakes are easier to disguise when it's done that way rather than something that's super precise. Okay, I think that's my last hint on this sign. So you can see the whole thing laying on the table there. Flowerpatchfarmhouse.com is where you can find the full tutorial for this if you're seeing this on YouTube and haven't found the website yet. This video is just to complement that post and is not a complete from the beginning to end video of this sign. There's also a pattern available on the website if you wish to make this sign yourself.